Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. I hope you guys have all had a great start to the week. I've got no doubt you enjoyed the weekend as Newcastle beat Brentford 5-1 at the weekend. All the goals, all the possession, all of the ball, we were great. And that's coming off the back of a 4-1 win against Fulham last weekend. Could we go one better? We did exactly that, 5-1 against Brentford. A really good day. It was the 1-year anniversary of the takeover, so everybody was buzzing before we even got started. The game kicks off, and as I say, we took control of that game. We scored all of the goals, went out and celebrated after. Probably a little bit too much because I still felt groggy this morning, but it was a great day. It was a great night with some fantastic... it was a fantastic team performance, but with some fantastic individual performances as well. Bruno Guimarães, the main man who scored 2 goals, has been given loads of credit for his performance, and he did inspire today's wardrobe choice. It's not him on the back though, it's actually Joe Linton. I had to get it. What a top. My second team for the World Cup. But Bruno has been given a lot of credit, and it's not just his performance that has got him hitting the headlines in the last day since the game. He also gave an interview after the game where he discussed the fact that he was in conversations with Real Madrid through the summer window. As you might remember, Newcastle were, at the forefront of trying to buy players in the summer window, and it pretty much just went over my head to even think that we would potentially sell a player. Real Madrid were reported as being interested, and Bruno has said that yes, there was conversations in the summer. So I want to talk about that, how that could potentially be a factor for Newcastle going forward. But I also want to talk a little bit about the game as well, because we had a great day, and as I say, talk a little bit about some of those individual performances and how it's kind of changed things in the last couple of weeks. I feel like we went from kind of feeling like we didn't have too many options. Like Maxi was injured. It felt like we had nobody to play there. There was injuries in the midfield. What do you do? And in the words of Eddie Howe, we are now spoilt for choice right now for the players available. It's a good time to have that, as we are now heading into a 3-game week. Manchester United on Sunday, Everton in the midweek, and then Spurs the game after. Some tough games there. So to have won 2 games on the bounce heading into that with, certain players really hitting their stride, getting a bit of confidence, it's kind of all come at a really good time. Now, don't get me wrong, the defence was fantastic on the day. You look at someone like Trippier, such a leader, such a creator. You talk about the set pieces. It's really all across the board, isn't it? I could probably talk about this all night, to be honest, but I'll try and keep it condensed. But you look at the goal that Bruno scored when he kind of peeled off at the back, totally unmarked. It was a quick corner that was played into Trippier. Quick corners, not always, everybody's favourite, but it worked, and it was practiced, and it went to Trippier, and Bruno's off the back and with a great header. And it's such as I say, a great team performance. I thought the defence did really well. And then you go into the midfield and the attackers and wingers. It was the same team that played against Fulham. So Eddie Howe has given, those players the opportunity to go and do it again. And as I say, could they do one better? Yes, 5-1. And it was in the pre-match talk with Eddie Howe where he said that he was hoping that Maxi would be available and that Joe Linton would be available. And despite the performances of Murphy, Longstaff, Eddie Howe surprises me with nothing now, to be honest, and I'm very happy to support what Eddie Howe goes with, and because that team had won 4-1, there was no reason to doubt it. But I would have still played Maxi if he was available. I would have still played Joe Linton if he was available. But what Eddie Howe has done in not doing that is shown confidence in the players that played well, and allowed them to do it again. And I think that's a big thing, and especially when we talk about the fact that maybe we don't have the greatest of depths in some positions. I think centre-back is a place where we are doing really well. The fact that Burn can go on that left-hand side, or even Trippier goes and plays right wing, and then we end up with a back three of Botman, Burn and Shaw, and Target can come in. And there's a real great bit of flexibility in our defence, but then kind of in midfield, and Longstaff has had a bit of stick, and sometimes I find that's because he's getting compared to Bruno. When Bruno can't play, so Longstaff plays. And then obviously Longstaff isn't Bruno, but it's not to say that he isn't good at what he does. I mean, I think for a lot of people, Murphy hasn't been their favourite player, and I would say that naturally Fraser is probably a more technical player than Murphy is. But one thing that Murphy does do is gives you that bit of pace and that press. And despite the fact that he's not been playing, you can tell that he is being ran on the drills just the same as everybody else. And it was exactly that high press and that quickness from Murphy, from Almiron on the other side, from Wilson in the middle, that actually got us, at least 2 of the goals where the pressure was on, the keeper had nowhere to go, the one that Miggy scored, the defender had nowhere to go, and they really kind of showed what they can give to this side. It may not necessarily be the creativity that Maxi brings, but these players can have their place, and I'm just hoping that they can continue that confidence high. Eddie Howe has got a great way of bringing these players in and giving them the chance. We saw kind of Lascelles come back in for that Tranmere Liverpool game that, once again, I don't think everybody was potentially over the moon with, and then did really good. And as I say, in the words of Eddie Howe, being spoilt for choice in a season where we need the squad. You look at Anderson as well, trying to get him involved. So it's great that these players have played well, picked up the confidence, and now we can hopefully hit this 3-game week in a good way. And as I mentioned, Bruno Guimarães, I've kind of talked a little bit about players there that maybe you wouldn't have expected a good game out of. Bruno, he just does what he does, doesn't he? That's just how Bruno plays, just amazing. And it isn't a surprise, really, to hear that he was in conversations with Real Madrid in the summer window, and how that can potentially impact Newcastle going forward in the January and the summer, and if that will need to, propel what is hopefully a 5-10 year plan of where we want to be and where we want to be finishing, because these players want to be in Europe and they want to be at the best sides. And, Newcastle are starting up, and I'm hoping we're going to get there. We aren't Real Madrid yet. But Bruno said in his interview that Real Madrid is the best team in the world, so it's nice that he was in that conversation. But it was just a conversation. It's nothing. I want to keep going and become a Newcastle legend. So he was in those conversations, but he's obviously trying very hard to make sure everybody knows that Newcastle's where he wants to be. I mean, he went on to say a lot of nice things about Newcastle. He said that the ground love me and I love them. I want to keep going. He was asked if his son will be a Geordie, and he said yes. I never thought it would happen, but yes. And he was asked about Europe, and he said that we have to keep going. All the games in the Prem are difficult, but we need to enjoy the moment. And I think generally, or for myself anyway, you guys can let me know down below how you feel for this season, the conversation of Europe, and obviously we're sat in a great place in the league right now, and if we were to finish the season now and just take where we are, that would be great. But generally, having survived the impossible last season where everybody thought it was over, to come into this season and really go one better, can we now go and look at the top 10, and it's kind of a bit of a freebie in a way. I want to see us do well, and I will be disappointed when we don't win games. When we didn't beat Bournemouth, it was disappointing. I thought we had all the chances, but I still look at the big picture of the fact that this is kind of like step 1 almost. That last season was almost get it to step 0. Let's not get relegated. This season is what feels really like step 1 of the process, which could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And for a fan, I am not the biggest of rushes. Like, if we could scrape Europa League conference, I think that would be great, to be honest, because it would put us in a tournament where we can kind of see where we are and what we can do. But at the same time, as I've mentioned already, like, I'm not expecting like for us to move the world. And as a fan who has just sat through years of, not a lot of fun, we'll just put it that way, just to keep it simple. I'm not in a rush. I'm hoping to support Newcastle for another 50 years. Who knows how long I'll live? 60, 70 years. Who knows? I'm going to be here for a very long time. The players' careers don't last as long as my fan viewing of Newcastle United. And if we aren't getting Europe in, I think I would still say that this year is a building block, and then I think it might be next year when there's maybe more judgment cast on what is actually happening. But should a big team come in again for Bruno in the summer, or maybe next year or the year after, and we aren't getting there, then someone like Bruno will be in a much bigger rush than I am, is what I'll probably say. Someone like Maxi as well, and who knows who else we could sign in January or the summer. And it's trying to meet the expectation more of the players we're bringing in, I would probably say, than actually myself. I was going to say fans. You guys can tell me what you think down below. But for me, if it took 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, I'm still going to be in St. James's Park. And I don't really want to win. I was going to say overnight. I want the process as well. I want to sit and enjoy and see where we go and the building blocks of it. If it all happened tomorrow, like where do you go next? Like, I kind of want that process. I don't know if the players would be quite so willing to wait as long as I am, and physically won't be able to wait that long because their careers are far shorter. So it's an interesting one. It's one to bear in mind. Bruno said some great things there, and who knows? Maybe Bruno will do exactly that. Maybe he will stay here forever and become the legend that I really hope he does. But when you've got teams like Real Madrid knocking on the door, it's tough to keep those big players. And we've seen it with other teams in the league who maybe haven't quite managed to get where they wanted to be, and then in the summer windows, it's not as always easy to attract the same players. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that one down below. I think ultimately it's great that Bruno has come out and squashed it and said he wants to be here, he's not going to leave, and I am ecstatic to hear him say that. But it's also interesting to kind of feel out what will be happening over the next few years. So let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on the win down below as well. I will be back tomorrow for Toon Tuesdays, which will have all of the week's news on Newcastle United. Loads to go through as always, so be sure to subscribe. Do not miss tomorrow's video, and then we will begin our build-up to what will be a very busy week with 3 games coming up as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like, subscribe, enjoy your week. See you tomorrow for Toon Tuesdays, and I'll catch you later.